And we're back again for episode 57 of The Horror Guys. I'm Kevin.
I'm Brian.
And we're here to talk about horror movies.
Got 5 of them for you this time.
5 of them.
5.
Well, one is not really a horror movie. We were asked to review a movie.
It's pretty close.
It's science fiction-y. It's got a little horror element, but yeah.
Brain transplants. How many horror movies have been revolved around brain transplants?
Yeah, quite a few, actually. Yeah.
It's all right.
It's that, yeah.
Well, episode 57, we'll be discussing some great more modern horror. All 5 movies this week for 2019, so these are all real recent.
Modern
classic horror.
Oh, yeah, One Cut of the Dead. I was thinking that was 2016. That was 2019
It was
also.
released in Japan in 2017, but it only was released over here in 19. So it's new for us.
Yep.
All right, this week we'll be seeing The Lighthouse.
Been wanting to see that. Why'd you spill your beans?
Probably the best, most interesting, intriguing trailer going. Had to see what that was about.
Yeah. And we found out.
Crawl with the alligators. Us and nobody else. The Eternal Code for you to decipher, and One Cut of the Dead.
That's the
Chop
Japanese
Chop.
movie.
All from 2019.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's go.
What do we see first?
How about that Eternal Code?
Eternal Code.
It's directed by Harley Wallen, written by Harley Wallen, stars Richard Tyson, Scout Taylor Compton, and Billy Wirth. And Harley Wallen's in it too.
Haven't seen Billy Wirth in quite a while.
I don't know that I've seen him. I didn't recognize him. He's somebody?
Yeah, he's done lots of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. I believe he was in The Lost Boys.
Oh.
He was one of the Lost Boy minions. Pretty sure he was.
Okay.
Yeah. And other stuff. Yeah.
Hour and 45 minutes. Link in the show notes.
Did you like it?
I did. Yeah. Like you said, it's not strictly super horror, but yeah, it was good.
More science fiction-y.
It starts out...
Actually, more of an action science
If you watch
fiction.
the first 5 minutes, you're going to hate it. The first 5 minutes I thought was kind of bad.
I thought it took a while to warm up and get going, to get some momentum going and get us interested in these characters more.
Once it got to about the halfway point, I'm like, hey, this is pretty good.
I can't stop watching.
Yeah. Give it time, though. It takes a few minutes.
Bit. Yeah. Indie film, but a good effort. And suddenly Shane Hagedorn. I was looking at IMDb and I hadn't noticed he was in it. And
he knows him.
Sort of. Shane would probably say, hey, he looks familiar when he saw me. We knew each other in passing because he was doing the theater program. I don't think he ever did community theater, but I did a lot of community theater, and he saw my stuff and I saw his stuff, and there were a couple times of, hey, how you doing in passing.
But he doesn't have a weekly YouTube channel.
But he's done a lot of indie movies.
Okay.
Well, he's got a lot more movies than I do. A lot more IMDb credits.
You got one IMDb credit.
I have one IMDb credit.
Your mission for the week is to look it up and comment on his IMDb credit.
Yeah.
Well, this movie starts out with a guy sitting in the corner with a gun getting ready to shoot himself. He spots a guy getting ready to beat up a girl and goes to her defense, leaving his suicide note forgotten in the corner. There's a boardroom argument about weapons control. One guy says if this had been developed a few years ago, that it could have saved his wife. The woman in charge, Bridget Pellegrini, wants to shut the program down as it's just too dangerous. If you make a weapon, soon enough the enemy will have that weapon too. Or some kind of logic like that.
Everybody's going to want it, yeah.
You ever make a weapon at that logic? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, then Corey, the depressed and homeless guy, is sitting on a park bench, and Stephanie, the girl he rescued earlier, sits down and gives him a coffee. Coffee.
And then they're friends.
They are. Meanwhile, back at the bioengineering company, the main guy, Oliver, wants to arrange an accident for Bridget. We shift to seeing her in the kitchen talking to her husband, Mark, when their daughter comes in.
Oliver is not a nice guy.
No. The daughter looks like she's wearing a wedding dress to school. There's classical music playing. Not to mention they have what looks like a bottle of Grey Poupon on the countertop. You know these are classy people.
It did look like a wedding dress. That's what the first thought was. Is she in a wedding party? And no, she's just going to school.
The husband looked like he just got off the construction line, though. I mean,
he was more blue collar.
He was very blue collary, but
Yeah.
I don't think he was supposed to be. I think he was supposed to be a
Well,
rich snob like all the others. He
no,
didn't really fit that.
He's more down to earth.
All right.
Yeah.
He's the real guy.
Yeah, but they had money. Yeah, they were trying to
Grey
clearly
Poupon,
trying to convey that they were well to do. Yeah.
Well, we see Stephanie having a conversation with other hookers, and they all use words bigger than I've ever heard a hooker use. You ever hear a hooker use words like that?
Well, I haven't, in real life, I haven't heard a lot of hookers talk, actually. So
Yeah, you'd say that, wouldn't you?
Maybe they talk like that when they're alone and nobody's around.
Well, David, a friend of the family, comes to see Bridget, warning her that she's in danger. She refuses to listen to his warnings. David then goes to Mark and explains it all. And like I said, Mark is a little more down to earth. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bridget's daughter has been giving money to Corey because he's sad and homeless looking, and he uses the money to buy lunch for all the other poor people, which demonstrates to the audience that he's not an addict.
And he's a genuinely good guy.
Oliver tells the scientists to push forward on this project, and they can end mortality. They talk about growing new bodies for people in the future, but right now they're transplanting dying brains into dead bodies.
Or more of a mind transplant.
I wasn't quite clear if they actually transplanted the brain or just some sort of mind switching.
It didn't never seem really to see be. It. They didn't. I'm not sure they were actually open to the skulls.
I don't think they did.
Yeah,
it would make a lot more sense. Okay, don't overthink it, I guess.
Yeah.
Men in masks come in and capture Bridget and Mark, while Miranda, the daughter, runs back to Corey and cries for help. Corey and Stephanie talk to Miranda, and she explains everything about the company. It is a brain transplanting project. Mm-hmm. Well, David confronts Oliver about what he's done. Without Bridget, the vote for the merger is expected to go through. There's a very strange scene where Corey goes to the office to get money for wounded warriors, but gets thrown out instead. He goes in asking for Bridget, knowing full well that Bridget's been kidnapped. What did he hope to gain by that meeting?
Inside information.
He got thrown out.
Well, didn't get much.
Okay. Maybe not the best plan.
But it was a try.
I'm not quite clear why he went there in the first place, but the bad guys spend about an hour looking for Miranda, while Oliver and a gunman are going around town forcing the vote to go through. Things are really starting to look bleak until Oliver decides he wants to transfer his brain into a new, younger body. And you're going to have to tune in on Amazon Prime to see how that works out.
See how things work out.
We saw it on Prime. It's probably available other places. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the first few minutes, it feels like a soap opera. It's kind of hokey, but it picks up. It really does.
Yeah.
The further you go into it, the better it gets. Maybe you get invested in the characters, but I think it's more that once the action picks up, the heavy drama subsides a bit. Mm-hmm. It is a little soap opera-like, over-dramatic in the beginning, but then it gets more action-oriented, it gets better.
Yeah.
The sci-fi aspect of the story is pretty much non-existent, except in exposition and the background story.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen a little more sci-fi-ish.
Like I said, we didn't know if it was a brain transplant or a mind transfer. They never really show us. Mm-hmm. We never see any brain transplant or mind transfer or whatever the big idea is. And at one point, Oliver changes actors, and there's a few scenes with him in the hospital, but it's never quite clear exactly what's going on. It's basically a lone gunman saves the day kind of story with a business takeover side plot. It's a pretty good crime drama, but it's billed as a sci-fi action film, and it's really just not that much sci-fi. It's got some good action, though.
Mm-hmm. Cool poster, too.
Yeah, definitely.
And one thing I noted, too, is good soundtrack, good music, good use of sound and music. And, yeah, I was impressed by that. And, yeah, all in all, I give it a thumbs up for
good cinematography, well made, professionally done. It's not like a lot of the indie films that we look at. It's really good that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, it's not horror, but if it sounds interesting to you, check it out. It's worth a watch.
Yeah, it got me hooked, and, yeah, I give it a thumbs up.
All right.
Yeah.
What else we watch?
We saw Us.
Us and Them.
Finally did.
Well, it hadn't been that long.
Well,
over the summer, I think it came out.
Yeah.
We're a little behind on some of these.
Mm-hmm.
We get tied up in, those horror porn, not horror porn, torture porn movies all fall. Mm-hmm. Then we got tied up with the kids' movies in October. And our modern modern horror classics have gotten pushed back a little bit.
All those Universals and Hammers slowed us down, too. Yeah.
The classic classics.
Yeah, well, they still slowed us down.
We're going to have a couple of weeks in January and February where we do nothing but recent movies and get caught up. So Us was from 2019, directed by Jordan Peele, written by him too. Stars Lupita Nyong'o. It's hard to say that fast.
I think you're saying it
I'm
right.
saying it right that
Yeah.
time.
Uh-huh.
Winston Duke and Elizabeth Moss, hour and 56 minutes. Amazon link in the show notes.
And other people in it, too. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Everybody's got a dual role in this one.
You know, something I thought of today, actually. Us, do you think, is also U.S.? With the Hands Across America thing, and it's U.S., and, you know...
Well, they said
little
at
bit of
the
a double
end that
meaning
it was
there.
going on everywhere, but I can't imagine that this program would be overseas. So, yeah, I think you're probably right. It is just United States.
U.S.
But it never really comes up. You could go lots of different ways with that.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I thought
And
that was very good.
I liked it so much better than his previous big one, Get Out. And, yeah, I liked this a lot.
The hype train ran right over Get Out. This was good all by itself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we learned from the Hands Across America commercial on TV that this takes place in 1986. The family goes to the...
Starts out.
Yeah. The family goes to the boardwalk at the beach, and Adelaide, the little girl, wants a Thriller t-shirt. So that just shows you how old that is.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody alive remember when Thriller came out?
I do.
Yeah, I do too.
You do too.
She walks off while her father's playing a game and her mother goes to the restroom. She goes down the steps into the darkness toward the water. She finds a lonely funhouse booth out there called Find Yourself. And she enters.
Boy, does she.
The lights go off and she has a hard time finding her way out of this hall of mirrors. One of the versions of her in the mirror doesn't turn around when it's supposed to. The girl screams.
Not a reflection.
And credits roll. That's a pretty spooky start.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we jump ahead to the present day. The little girl now has a family of her own, and they've just arrived at their summer house. There's some mention of going to the beach, and the mother gets a weird look in her eyes.
She don't like the beach.
We flash back to Adelaide as a little girl, and she won't talk about what happened. Her parents know she's been traumatized somehow, but they don't know any specifics because Adelaide refuses to speak after the incident.
Mm-hmm.
You know, little kids, bad things happen, and they don't talk.
Clam up, yeah.
Back in the present, Adelaide refuses to go to the beach, but her husband really, really wants to go, so she gives in. On the way, they pass the same crazy man that Adelaide saw so many years ago. That really doesn't go anywhere, does it?
Sorta, because there's an alternate of him, too.
Well, yeah. But, okay. Well, the family goes to
little
Santa
bit.
Cruz
I mean,
Beach with their
it's a
friends,
thing,
Kitty and Josh.
a small thing, but yeah.
The Find Yourself booth is still there.
A little more run down, but it's still there.
Her son Jason runs off, but he only goes to the bathroom. No harm done, but Adelaide freaks out over it. She wants to go home, as this whole trip has just been too much for her.
And Elizabeth Moss and, what's the other guy? Are they friends? They're
Kitty and Josh.
Yeah, Kitty and Josh.
they're
They're couple friends. They're hanging out on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, she talks to Gabe, her husband, about what happened so long ago, and suddenly the power goes out.
Oh, yeah, they're back home.
Yeah, little Jason comes in and asks who that family standing outside is. There's a man and a woman and 2 children out there. Of course, at first nobody believes him. That's just stupid. That would never... Oh, wait, who are those people?
Yeah.
Gabe goes out and confronts them, but they just stand there.
And she calls 911.
When they do finally move, they move very strangely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the children kind of skitter away.
Yeah. Spidery.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the strangers finally break in. Turns out it's the same 4 people, only a little different.
It's them.
It's
sort
us, says Jason.
Sort of, yeah. They're off. They're kind of off.
Yeah, they look identical, but they're weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't move right or talk right. And, yeah.
Well, the other mother, who we find out from the credits is called Red. They all have duplicate names, but they don't really ever get called by those names for the most part.
Yeah, not really.
Explains that she was once Adelaide's shadow. The shadow hated the real girl. She calls this the untethering. They make Adelaide handcuff herself to the table. The 4 imposters each then pair off against their duplicates. For the most part, the normal folks win and get away in their boat.
And that was a pretty awesome scene. It goes on a while.
It's a
with
long scene,
with the whole
yeah.
invasion, and it shows the four
Maybe
of
the
them
best part of the movie.
in different parts of the house. Well, and the dad goes out to the boat.
Yeah.
He gets out of the house.
This whole scene's like maybe a half an hour long, and it's really
how
good.
all four of them deal with their doppelgangers, and yeah.
Meanwhile, Josh and Kitty hear something outside. Their own doppelgangers are a little more effective than the first bunch.
Yeah, I was not expecting that from previews or anything. That
you
was
knew the four got it, but you didn't know
yeah.
anybody else did.
Yeah, and they don't mess around like they just chop right to it.
No talking, just killing.
Yeah.
And they quickly overwhelm and kill the real people. Adelaide and the family then knock on the door, and Kitty/Dahlia grabs Adelaide and pulls her inside while the kids and Gabe do battle with Josh and his family.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a while.
Good times. Yeah.
But our family defeats these guys as well.
And then they're trying to call 911, and 911 is all tied up. And the
Why don't the
lines are
police
busy,
answer?
And, yeah,
They turn on the TV.
It's big
everywhere.
Yeah, it's happening everywhere.
Yeah. Huge numbers of these fake people are out there. Red eventually grabs Jason and takes him back to the boardwalk. Hundreds and hundreds of red-garbed clones are holding hands all in a row. Adelaide goes back inside the funhouse and goes down inside the works of the place. There are a vast number...
more to it than just a funhouse.
Yeah. There's a vast number of underground tunnels for maintenance underneath. You know, under the boardwalk, they got the water and the pipes and the sewers and the machinery and the power and all that. But below that, there's more. She goes down, down, and more down until she finds an escalator going down.
Going down more.
She finds a huge complex overrun with rabbits. In the opening scene with the credits, we see this cage of 2 rabbits. Then it zooms out and there's 8 rabbits. And before long they zoom out and there's hundreds and hundreds of rabbits.
It's a lab.
Is what they eat. She mentioned at one point the real girl got Christmas dinner. She ate a dead rabbit. So I think this is their food source. Okay, so we finally get a weird explanation about the people below controlling the people above and how it was all an abandoned mind control experiment. Red then became obsessed with Adelaide and the world above. The other tethered saw her as something special and started following her lead. She did all this to reenact the Hands Across America with duplicates and, of course, to steal the real people's lives.
And it gets kind of weird. Yeah.
And then there's more, but we'll leave that part out.
Well, and one of my favorite parts too was the tethering. I don't know. She kind of said it's one soul, 2 bodies, and the people above. They showed flashback when she was a little girl at the carnival, and people on carnival rides up above, riding the carnival rides. Their duplicates down below were like running in circles, and the roller coaster. They were riding the roller coaster just in these corridors.
Feeding each other imaginary food.
Yeah. Mimicking everything that was going on.
Everything
up
above was the same below as well as it could be.
That was cool how they did that, yeah.
Okay, well, this was far better than I was expecting. Many reviews I've seen compared this to Jordan Peele's other big hit, but I thought Get Out was just horribly overrated.
This was
Didn't
not
care
overrated.
for it that much.
I really enjoyed this
I
one.
was expecting this would be overhyped as well, but no, it really is good all by itself.
Yeah, I thought so.
The final explanation for what happened was very weird, but I guess it does sort of explain things if you don't think about it too hard. I'd like to see what the world is going to look like when they all stop holding hands, but otherwise it does all make sense. The final twist was something I thought was obvious even before the credits began.
One beautiful twist at the end.
But didn't think it would go there, so I kind of forgot about it.
Oh, okay.
Turns out it did happen the way I thought, but it was so much of an afterthought that I'd forgotten about the possibility, so it actually worked out for their benefit in the end. Yeah, definitely thumbs up.
See it.
I give that a 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Speaking of 9 out of 10s, One Cut of the Dead.
I give this a 10 out of 10.
Okay.
I loved this movie. It's the most fun I've ever had at a zombie movie.
Well, that's okay. 2019 Japanese subtitled. Directed by Shinichiro Ueda, written by him and Ryoichi Wada. Stars Takayuki Hamatsu, Yuzuki Akiyama, and Haruki Shuhama. Hour and 36 minutes. Amazon link in the show notes.
Watch this one.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. It's good, then it's good again.
It's good 3 different ways, really.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay, before we get into it, the first 37 minutes is one zombie movie. It's a zombie movie.
And it's one continuous cut.
The undead attack, and it's
literally is.
the girl and
Yeah.
the guy fighting the zombies. And it's actually one unbroken cut. You can follow the camera following these people around. There's no breaks. There's no changing scenes or any of that. The camera chases them up the stairs and out into the field and so forth. Mm-hmm. Which, if you've ever done any kind of filmmaking, you know is difficult.
Yeah.
Then when that's over, the second third of the movie is watching what happened like in the past month as the actors prepare for the movie, prepare to film. And then the last third is watching them make the film live. You see like the first third over again from behind the camera, and you see exactly how they did it.
How they did all the special effects and made it seamless, and it doesn't necessarily go smoothly, and they're having to improvise on the fly, and it's just a hoot. Yeah.
Yeah. We begin with a zombie cornering a girl and biting her to death. Cut! Oh, it's just a film crew making a zombie movie. This is the 42nd take. The director yells at the leading woman that he wants to see real fear and yells at her to quit acting. He may be overreacting just a little bit himself. She just doesn't look scared enough. Mm-hmm. So then they all go on break, allowing the actors and the makeup lady to talk, and she explains that some real horrors happened here in the past. The Japanese army conducted experiments related to raising the dead. Changing the subject, we also hear that the makeup lady also teaches self-defense. One of the crew goes outside to smoke and runs into an old man who is now wearing zombie makeup. He's one of the crew also.
And he thinks, wow, you're all made up.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Until he chomps
Except
him.
it's not makeup.
Yeah.
He bites the crewman's arm off, and the other actors then find his arm on the floor. Naturally, they think it's part of the movie. Then the old man comes in and attacks, and they all believe it's for real. Especially when the now one-armed crewman gets up and attacks from the rear, chasing them all throughout the abandoned water treatment plant. The cameraman yells, "You can't fake this!" and keeps on rolling his camera. The sound guy runs out and gets killed too. The director pushes a zombie back into the room and shouts, "Action!" He wants a zombie film.
He wants a real zombie film.
They start filming with real zombies, and yes, the actors does look scared now. Mm-hmm. They all go outside and run to the car. There's a foot chase where the actress has to battle the one-armed zombie and the old man for the car keys, and she injures her ankle. Or maybe it was bitten. Mm-hmm. The makeup lady wants to kill her with an axe until the leading man instead axes the makeup lady in the head. The main girl then hides out in a shed, possibly the only one left alive, except she's worried about that cut on her ankle. She finds an axe and then has to fight the leading man who died somewhere off screen. The director is still filming, and this is going to be the climax of his movie. She cuts off the star's head and then kills the cameraman too.
And the director.
She wins.
She kills everybody.
Oh, yeah. The director, I'm saying cameraman and director, they're the same guy
yeah,
here.
Okay, yeah.
And then the credits roll at 37 minutes in. Cut, shouts the director. Then we jump back a month to a month before.
Where they're all getting hired, and he's been hired to direct this zombie project that they want to do a live show on television of a continuous story. And
Sounds like a challenge.
It sounds like a challenge, and then he has a challenge hiring the right people and getting and there's some last minute cast replacements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the directors are working on a film, and a man comes to see him pitching an idea for a zombie film. They describe the plot of what we just saw, and it'll be shot in one long cut and broadcast live for the premiere of the new Zombie channel. And the film will be called One Cut of the Dead. The director is all in for it. Then the credits roll again. English credits this time. Mm-hmm. I think the first one was the credits of the short. This is the credit of what comes after.
Right.
I couldn't read the first one, so I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, the director and his wife, who eventually play the makeup lady, are discussing the film project. The director's daughter just got fired from a job teaching acting, and she has a crush on the actor who will eventually become the leading man. And I guess there's a plan to make a series after the movie, so they tempt the leading man in with the series by saying you got to do the movie first.
Right, yeah.
What would be really funny is if they actually made a series.
Mm-hmm. An actual series.
A real series, yeah.
Yeah.
We then get a large number of scenes where the actors rehearse and organize for the filming. These are funny at times, but are at least sort of based on the kind of thing that would go on before a real film shoot.
Mm-hmm.
Things go wrong, and the actors and crew have to deal with it. They can't stop filming because this is live. We saw how everything was shot, how half of it wasn't scripted, and the other half was improvised because of problems during the live shoot. Eventually, we see that everything we saw in the uncut part of the film actually makes sense. And there are some weird things. One of the zombies spits all over somebody. Somebody else, there's a scene where she's hanging onto this antenna for way too long. It just seemed like a weird scene. And some other goofy things that aren't quite right for a horror movie. And then we see
where they freeze too.
Oh yeah, the zombie froze a couple of times.
Yeah, the zombie froze and stopped moving. Why?
And it's like,
well, you find out why.
It's kind of weird when you're watching it, but there could be a reason for it, so you let it go. And
yeah,
didn't particularly stand out as a bad horror movie, the first part.
No.
But then later you see why those things happen, and it's even better.
Yes, yeah.
This was really, really well done. Even ignoring the first 37 minutes, really was all done in one take. The second part, where we see the actors putting it all together, was just as good. All the things that don't quite make sense or look like mistakes or plot holes for the first time around are explained eventually. Zombies that spit, shots that linger a little too long, and unexplained appearances that we mostly dismissed in the real film all have reasons behind them. And I have to wonder how they made this. Did they do the one cut first and then they staged the other stuff to explain the one cut? Or was it all kind of planned to begin with?
Yeah, well, they would have had to plan it, but I think they probably staged the continuous thing. Oh, which one of the actresses said that it took 6 tries to get that continuous take. They actually did it perfectly on the second try, but the camera guy screwed up the equipment and it wasn't filmed right.
Time for a new camera
The footage
guy.
wasn't usable, so they had, try number 6 was the one they used. Yeah.
So why'd you spill your beans?
Why'd you spill your beans? What a grim movie. Oh, man.
It's about the darkest movie ever. The Lighthouse from 2019. Directed by Robert Eggers, written by him and Max Eggers, stars Robert Pattinson, Willem Dafoe, Valeria Karaman, 1 hour, 49 minutes, black and white.
And you know what I found strange about this, credits-wise? I didn't notice the actual movie. I was looking at IMDb and online. There's a couple of guys that they replace, you know, that you can see on
the
camera.
old Lighthouse Keepers.
Yeah. And there's another guy who pops up who's like an imaginary guy.
Yeah. But none of them spoke.
Yeah, but they're not listed in the credits at all. Because I was wondering who the one guy was.
Did we even really get a look at the 2 lighthouse men that were leaving's faces? They were just sort of dark shadows.
But we did, and the one guy for sure. Because he looked familiar. Well, he reminded me of, who's the guy who was Watson in the new Sherlock? I know it wasn't him, but he reminded me
of
of
the
him.
Hobbit guy?
Yeah. Morgan.
Yeah,
Morgan Freeman.
No.
Freeman Morgan? No, Martin Freeman. He reminded me of him, and I was trying to find, and there's no mention who he is. I couldn't find anything online that says who he is. I mean, he was real. He was an actor. He was in it. Why no credit at all?
It was less than a half a second. He just sort of a flash.
It was more than half a second, and it was more than once. Anyway, just a weirdness, I thought.
It's odd.
Yeah. Anyway, carry on.
You like it? It's another 9. I got 3 9s this week.
Yeah, I have to say I liked it. Yes.
I don't know. On a second viewing, I might bump this up to a 10.
Grim movie.
Very.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Smelly. You can almost smell
Smelly movie.
You can almost smell this movie.
Ephraim Winslow and Thomas Wake are the 2 new lighthouse keepers. They arrive together wordlessly as the foghorn sounds. It's a dark and gloomy place, full of fog and black and white video.
And basically, that's the whole hour and a half.
And I noticed right off the bat that the aspect ratio looked weird on the screen. I thought there was something wrong with the video we had.
On purpose.
But it's
square.
Almost square video rather than 16 by 9 or 4 by 3. I think it said 1.2 to 1.
Like they did back in the good old days.
Claustrophobic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Winslow finds a Little Mermaid statue stuck inside his mattress.
Set in the 1890s, by the way, too.
Yes.
It's not modern day.
No. Wake makes a toast to 4 weeks. And Winslow doesn't want to drink the alcohol, but does do the toast with water. He spits it out because it tastes bad. Wake laughs and tells him, hey, the cistern needs to be fixed. Wake then wants to deal with the lighthouse light, and Winslow can do everything else around the house. It's obvious that Wake is in charge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wake is Willem Dafoe, and Pattinson is the other guy, Winslow.
Mm-hmm.
Wake gets naked that night and stares into the light. Winslow uses the opportunity to go down to the water, and he dreams of a mermaid. And this becomes a recurring thing. He goes out at night and looks up, and there's Willem Dafoe standing naked in front of the spotlight. The next morning, Winslow fixes the shingles, cleans the cistern, shovels coal, carries oil up the stairs to the light, and does battle with an angry one-eyed seagull.
Yeah, he does a lot of work on this, a lot of manual labor.
Wake then says he's being slow and needs to pep it up a little. Boredom makes men villains, lad, Wake explains. The only cure is drink, he laughs.
Good thing they've got a lot.
They do.
At least at first.
Winslow asks what happened to the man he replaced, and Wake says he went mad. He tells Wake... No, I wrote that wrong. He tells Winslow it's bad luck to kill a seabird, so don't fight with him anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Seagulls carry the souls of men who have met their maker. Wake takes perverse pleasure in lording it over Winslow. Winslow mentions that he used to be a timberman, and Wake asks why he changed to being a lighthouse man. A wiki, they're called here.
Needed a change.
He claims that he's simply in it for the money. That night, he sees a strange creature up in the lighthouse with Wake. Dun, dun, dun.
Or was it Wake himself?
The next morning, he finds a dead seagull in the cistern. His nemesis, the one-eyed seagull, is there, and Winslow kills it.
Brutally. Man, that's
yeah. Winslow's planning to leave on the tender tomorrow morning. This is his last night, so he finally drinks with Wake. They argue over Winslow never getting a turn at the light, and they drink a lot.
Mm-hmm.
When Winslow wakes up, he sees the mermaid out on the rocks.
You can almost feel that hangover when he wakes up.
Oh, yeah. The tender doesn't come that day after all. Wake says they missed the tender weeks ago, and now they need to start rationing food. What? Where'd the time go?
Yeah, where did the time go? And the moisture got into the supplies, too, and so a lot of the food molded.
Yeah,
molded.
Because it may have been months.
Mm-hmm.
Wake says that once the tender didn't come for 7 months. Many of Wake's stories start to change on the second and third telling. He can't get the stories straight.
Mm-hmm.
They're both going a little insane, and Wake calls down a long and detailed, almost Shakespearean curse on Winslow. And this curse that he's spitting out, it takes like 4 minutes.
Yeah, it's something.
It's quite a monologue.
Yeah, it is.
Winslow then finds a head with only one eye in the lobster pot, and he thinks it's his predecessor.
Well, and you start to wonder about things, especially at this point. I wondered, did he really see that? Did he imagine it? Is he hallucinating these things? Is he really seeing them?
They're drinking a lot.
They're drinking a lot. They're kind of going stir crazy. They're driving each other nuts.
Uh-huh.
And he's, how much of this is real?
Yeah.
Don't really know for sure.
And if you were watching closely before, the seagull that kept picking at Winslow only had one eye. Was it carrying this man's soul? Winslow thinks this is the case and that Wake must have murdered him.
Mm-hmm.
Winslow breaks into the office to read Wake's logbook, but finds that the old man sleeps with it. They both start drinking a lot more every night. One night, after the two were dancing and then fighting, Winslow says his name is really Tom Howard. Howard spills his beans,
Why'd you spill your beans?
explaining that on a log drive, the real Winslow fell into a log jam and Howard didn't help him. Howard then took his identity, and he's been Winslow ever since.
Trying to make a fresh start, and it apparently didn't work too well.
Yeah.
I think he still realizes that he's still the same person who self-loathes.
Well, I think he hates himself more because he actually murdered the other guy.
Yeah,
he didn't just not help, really.
Yeah. He hated himself, and now he hates himself even more. So there's a lot of guilt going on, too.
Mm-hmm. Well, we hear Wake's voice haunting Howard repeatedly. Why'd you spill your beans, Tommy? It sounded great in the trailers, too. The next day, Howard/Winslow pulls out the lifeboat to head to the mainland, and Wake destroys it with an axe.
You're not leaving me.
Just a few minutes later, Wake says it was Howard who smashed the boat and chased him with the axe.
Yeah, there's a lot of gaslighting going on there. Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, we've run out of alcohol. That night, they start drinking the kerosene, and they get so drunk they barely notice when the sea breaks in the window. That was some storm.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it was some kerosene.
Yeah.
Howard eventually gets access to the logbook, and he sees how much the old man has put into it that concerns him. It's bad enough to ruin his career.
Mm-hmm.
Wake calls him a
Not
dog.
going to get paid. He's going to recommend that
don't pay him.
that his pay gets cut. Yeah.
Wake then calls him a dog, and Howard beats him up. He makes Wake crawl like a dog out to a hole near the lighthouse. Wake continues his masterful cursing of Howard the whole time Howard is burying him alive. After Wake is buried, Howard heads inside, where Wake attacks him kind of out of nowhere with a pickaxe. Howard kills him quickly with an axe this time. Howard finally gets to go upstairs to see the light. It opens up, and he screams at what he sees, then falls all the way down the lighthouse stairs. Somehow he managed to crawl outside, and the seagulls eat him alive.
Spoilers.
And they all live happily ever after? Nobody lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, spoilers.
Spoilers.
Both these guys have...
And then a boat crashes on the shore because nobody's running the lighthouse anymore.
Well, that's for the sequel. That's the sequel.
Yeah.
Lighthouse 2.
Yeah. The crash.
Lighthouse 2. Seagulls Eat You.
Back in the days when lighthouses were vital.
Yeah.
It ain't going to run very long by itself.
No.
Yeah.
Well, the kerosene, they had to fill it every day.
Coal. Coal. The main thing was run by coal. It was steam powered.
I thought that was the horn. It was coal, and the oil was for the lantern. The kerosene was for the light upstairs. Coal was the big foghorn.
Yeah, but the mechanism was the rotating mechanism. That was steam powered coal, I believe.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll go there.
Yeah.
Both these guys have outrageous accents, and the movie almost needed subtitles.
At first.
There's quite a few lines I didn't quite catch.
You get used to it.
Yeah. The real star here, however, is the moody, creepy, claustrophobic black and white lighthouse and cinematography. Some of the shots in this could have been, really good comic book panels.
Mm-hmm.
This would have made a great graphic novel.
Yeah, it would. Yeah.
The setting offers more than enough boredom and isolation to make these two believably go insane. There's sea monsters and mermaids and murderers, but the true monster here is isolation, paranoia, and alcoholism.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much.
Very much worth seeing.
They built that whole thing.
For the movie.
The lighthouse, the buildings, the whole thing. They built it all. And the lighthouse looks like it's, this big stone brick building, and it's all wood. It's coated wood.
Huh.
The whole thing is wood. The
Just
lighthouse
a prop.
itself was, yeah. Uh-huh. The locals wanted it left there, but they didn't think it would hold up, so they dismantled it when they were done.
Why would the locals want it?
Because it was cool.
Tourists or something? Okay.
Yeah, tourism. And
look, now we've got a lighthouse.
Tourism, and it looked cool, and but it wasn't stable enough to last long term.
Speaking of not stable enough, last movie of the week is Crawl from 2019.
My least favorite, too.
Directed by Alexander Aha, written by Michael Rasmussen and Sean Rasmussen, stars Kaya Scodelario.
Maybe.
Stars Kaya Scodelario, Barry Pepper, and Morfydd Clark. Actually, I heard most of this was filmed in, Croatia?
Croatia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like it.
No, it looked like Florida.
Yeah. Runtime, 1 hour, 27 minutes. Amazon link in the usual place.
And
Did you like it?
Overall, not so much. No.
Okay.
I think I disliked it more than liked it. It was... Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's certainly the weakest of the ones we saw this week.
If alligators were this pernicious, this aggressive, this large in Florida, there would be no people in Florida.
It'd be like living in Jurassic Park.
I mean, gators do attack people. They're real. You have to watch out for them. They're monstrous, but gator attacks are kind of rare.
You got to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, doing the wrong thing to get attacked by a gator.
And this makes it look like you'd be walking down the street and a gator would kill you.
Fall out of the sky and eat your head off.
Yeah.
Alligators aren't this bad.
No, not as bad as this movie. No.
Well.
Anyway.
Well, we see in the opening shots that Haley is on the University of Florida's swim team. She doesn't win the race, but she's obviously pretty good. She remembers back to her father telling her as a little girl not to cry when she lost her first race. Back in those days, he called her an apex predator. He was wrong. Her sister calls.
The apex predator.
Yeah, they are here. Her sister calls and points out that the middle of the hurricane is about to hit her father's house. He might be trying to ride it out, says the sister. Haley
but he's
says,
not answering his phone.
Yeah. Haley says she'll drive down and check on him. She drives through the storm. The police have a roadblock set up and they aren't letting anyone in, but Haley drives around and powers through the storm anyway. 'Cause she won't take no for an answer.
She's an apex predator.
Yeah, in her SUV.
Yeah.
She arrives home and finds the family dog, who then eventually leads her to her father, who is injured in the crawl space under the house. He's unconscious but not dead. It looks like something large has bit him in the shoulder. We see the storm worsen as she drags him through the muck. She's almost got him out of the crawl space when a huge alligator, breaks through from somewhere and chases her.
CGI.
You think?
Well, and I read a thing where the director was explaining how necessary the CGI was because no animatronics could match the ferocity and speed of the
Well, I can see
gators
that, but I don't think a
needed.
real alligator could match that ferocity and speed.
Yeah.
These things are hyper.
I don't think so either. But boy, the CGI was obviously CGI.
I thought it looked pretty good.
I didn't think it looked right. As soon that first shot, it's like, oh, well, that's CGI. It didn't fool me a bit. I don't know.
I think we're going to disagree on this in a little bit. How are they going to get out of the basement with that thing blocking the driveway? Her father, Dave, starts to wake up. He gives the lamest "I don't need your help" speech ever as he clutches his broken leg and bleeds all over.
Clearly does, yeah.
She crawls around looking for a way out, and she learns that there isn't one alligator down here, but two. She gets bitten and dragged off, but manages to escape. Alligator bites her leg and drags her the length of the house, but she kicks it in the nose, and the leg's fine after that.
Pretty much.
The water in the crawl space starts getting noticeably deeper. She sees out the vent that there are 3 people outside. They're stealing an ATM from the convenience store across the street. 2 of the robbers are eaten while Haley yells for help. She doesn't actually see the third one get eaten, but we do. There are a lot of hungry alligators in this neighborhood.
Because, alligators, they're eating everybody in Florida.
Cannibal alligators. At one point, her father explains that there's another way out of the cellar in the house where she grew up. Like she wouldn't have known about that after growing up.
This is her
Did you have any secret
home.
doors in your childhood home that you didn't know about?
Well, I didn't know about them. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still, there's something sitting on top of the trap door, so that doesn't work out either.
Yeah.
One of the cops she met earlier at the roadblock comes inside the house. Haley and Dave yell and bang on pipes, and he finally hears them down there and radios his partner, who is currently being eaten by a bunch of alligators that seem to act more like rabid piranhas. 4 or 5 of them, they're just like swarming him.
And guess what? This guy gets eaten by an alligator, too.
Yeah. The father beats on a pipe to attract the alligators while Haley makes a break for the stairs.
And it wasn't like these were mutant alligators or monster alligators or, like some research lab, got flooded and all these experimental alligators busted out or anything. I wish they would have thrown something in like that.
Alien alligators.
This lab that they were, trying to boost the intelligence of alligators and it got flooded and they all escaped or something.
That was called Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah, but, no, they were just alligators.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfectly normal. Just another day in Florida. Yeah. Okay.
But they were having a hurricane, and that never happens in Florida. So this is a one-time ever event.
Right, yeah.
The father beats on a pipe to attract the alligators while Haley makes a break for the stairs. He manages to cave in the floor and trap and kill one of the gators. Haley can't make it to the stairs, so she tries for the drain pipe, which is most likely the way the alligators got inside in the first place. It leads to a sewer system large enough that she could have had elephants in the cellar if they had wild elephants in Florida.
Yeah, that was pretty absurd. It was like its own little ecosystem in there. It was
like
gigantic.
a swamp. It was like a big room to itself.
Yeah. It literally could have, an elephant could have
I don't think they make sewers like that.
That was something.
Certainly not in Florida. This is, of course, where all the baby alligators and eggs are, as well as at least one of the dead cops. Mm-hmm. She grabs the cop's gun, and then the alligator bites her arm, but she shoots the crap out of it.
Actually, that was pretty neat. She's got the gun in the hand that's in the alligator's mouth.
And it chomps right over her hand.
And she just empties the barrel.
It's still going to tear your arm up.
More than
just like tearing her leg up
did,
should have
yeah.
happened.
Her arm wasn't very damaged.
Yeah, these
yeah.
alligators are ferociously cannibalistic monsters, unless you're the star of the movie.
Yep. Yeah.
She then swims through another pipe. It's miraculous how clearly you can see in an underwater sewer pipe during a hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
She narrowly avoids getting eaten, but she gets outside. Meanwhile, Dad's drowning in the filled-up crawl space. She breaks a hole in the kitchen floor in exactly the right place, because he's underwater drowned and he's not banging anymore. She picks exactly the right place to break through.
Reaches down, pulls him out, CPRs him.
She then does CPR on him incorrectly. This is not how you give CPR in 2020. Still, he wakes up and isn't dead.
All better.
It's like watching an old episode of Baywatch.
It's kind of a trope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They go out the front door and everything out there is flooded, and there are many, many, many alligators outside, no longer even trying to be stealthy.
Mm-hmm.
They decide to try for the robber's boat. By walking really, really slowly and not splashing, they figure they can fool the alligators. Suddenly the rain stops, and the water starts getting really calm. Then the levee breaks. Oh boy.
Mm-hmm.
Dave tells Haley that she can swim faster than the alligators, which isn't even close to true in the real world. She makes it to the boat. The same boat that held the robber who was eaten, while sitting on the boat.
Yeah, but she's the star of the movie.
His alligators can't get her on the boat now, though, for some reason. The flood from the broken levee hits, and they all get sucked right back into the house.
Yeah.
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 Now they both get to play cat and mouse with the alligators throughout the flooding house. She spots one of the policeman's radios and uses it to call for help. Dad then loses an arm, but he's okay otherwise.
Yeah.
Haley hides in the bathroom's glass-walled shower stall, and the gator can't get in. You know the glass slidey shower doors? Yeah, the alligator can't get through that. She then tricks the gator inside, and he can't break out either.
And she climbs over the top while the alligator goes in, and then she closes the door, and he can't get out.
I totally believed everything up to that point. Eventually, both of them and the dog does not die, end up on the roof waiting for
the dog. No.
In a really good horror movie, they would have.
They do sometimes.
Yeah, they all end up on the roof waiting for rescue, and a helicopter appears, and they both get away happily ever after. At the end, of course, she's got arms and legs that are going to get infected, and he's lost an arm, so maybe not all of them got rescued. The dog is fine.
You know what you said at the end there? You know, they needed, one giant, massive alligator.
The helicopter
to come
starts
up
coming down out of the clouds.
Chomp the helicopter out of the sky.
That's totally what they needed.
Yeah.
It worked like that in Sharknado, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Some of those things, yeah. Kaiju alligator. Well, I wouldn't have even gone down into the crawl space in the first place. I've never lived in Florida, but I would expect to see alligators walking up and down the sidewalks there. It's just what
From
they
this movie, yeah.
It's just what they have there.
Well, and they do once in a while. They
No, yeah, it happens.
Or,
but
they
not
see
like
them on
this.
the golf course and in various places.
Yeah,
but not like this. They're not like this.
It's Florida. It's just what they have there, like tornadoes in Kansas and serial killers in Indiana.
And squirrels in Michigan.
It's all reality. In all reality, every alligator I've ever seen in person is lazy and sleepy looking. Not insane killing machines like these guys. And it's not like these are trained mutant cybernetic alligators either. They're just your normal Florida citizens. The storm effects are most likely CGI, but I thought they looked very convincing.
Yeah, that did.
The alligators I thought looked really good as well.
Okay.
You disagree? The acting from the two main actors are just fine, and everything looks nice, but the story really takes suspension of disbelief to a whole new level of ridiculousness. One or two of the action points in this film would be reasonable, but this is just one freaking impossible thing after another. It's fun and it looks good, but boy, is it dumb.
Yeah, what he said.
Okay, so...
That's our show.
Eternal Code?
Yes. More of a thumbs up than down.
Maybe about a 6.
An angled thumbs up.
Us?
6 or 7.
I got a 9.
Yep, big old thumbs up.
One Cut of the Dead, I'm sticking at 9.
Yep, 10.
Lighthouse, 9, maybe even a 10.
8-ish. 8-ish.
8
for
okay,
me.
8 to 10.
Uh-huh.
And Crawl, I'm going to go with 5 to 6.
5, maybe 6, 5.5. Yeah.
Well, that's our show for this week.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. Stop in at horrorguys.com to read all these reviews. contact us or post something. Leave a comment in the show note. Leave the comment in the YouTube channel. Send us an email, horrorguysmail@gmail.com. And get ready for next week, because we've got
Next week.
4 more great films. Not all of them are going to be new next week. We're briefly heading back to our regular format. We'll hit the all new stuff week after next. We got Dead Man's Eyes from 1944. The Gorgon from 1964. The remake of Pet Sematary from 2019.
Been wanting to see that.
And the international Kairo or Pulse from 2001. The following week, we'll catch up with 4 more modern films starring Annabelle and Chucky.
It's a doll week.
Yeah.
Doll episode.
I'm Brian.
I'm Kevin.
We'll see you next week.